Greetings, Bat Family, and welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. You can visit our website, holybatcast.com, or find us all over social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast and you will find us. If you're a big fan of the show, you can also support us on Patreon. You go to patreon.com/holybatcast. And along those lines, I got to give some shout outs to some patrons. First patron I want to give a shout out to is Mr. Eric Dobbins. Hi, Eric. And we've known Eric a long time. He has been a supportive and loyal listener for years, and he decided to become a patron, make it official. So thank you, Eric. You're awesome. We love you. It is very much appreciated. And speaking of listeners who have been supportive for years, the other patron is Mr. Mark Jurasevic. And you know his name because he writes into the mailbox quite often. So Mark and Eric, they were already part of the Bat family. You guys, we already loved you guys, Mark and Eric. You guys are already terrific. But the fact that you all did this really means a lot. So thank you so much for doing it. Thank you for your support. And a huge thank you to all our patrons. You guys are awesome. But Mark and Eric, this episode goes out to you guys. Again, if you want to do that, you can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. If you don't want to do it or don't have the means, it's all good. We still love you. Don't worry about it. We're part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. You can check out those shows at rf4rm.com. And as always, I'm your Bat host, Andy DiGenova. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. It's just my name, Andy DiGenova. It has been like 2 weeks, I think, maybe. Thereabouts, something like that. And so we are going to talk about some exciting news about Superman Legacy. We have a Superman and a Lois. We're going to talk about The Flash, of course, but mostly we're going to be answering your questions, most of which have to do with The Flash. So it is our Flash Q&A with a little extra sprinkle of Superman news in there, and we're excited to do it. Joining me, it's my Bat pal. It's Jamie Drewley. Hi, Jamie.
Do we have enough money in the Patreon to cover my therapy bills when this episode's done?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do. As long as you go to as long as you go to Lucy Van Pelt from Peanuts and it's 5 cents.
Okay.
Then I can cover it. I can cover at least 5 or 6 sessions.
She's probably just the one I need because she'll just hit me right between the eyes with all of it anyway. So
it's true. She'll be the one that's just like, hey, get over it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I have better things to deal with. So you'll be all right, man. It's okay. You'll be fine. We're in this together. You don't have to do it alone. Well, and we have wonderful people at home who are supportive, and they're here for us too.
Cool.
Now, if I'm being honest, I haven't read all the emails in advance. So I mean, maybe the people who wrote
in, we get some surprises.
Surprise! It's the spice of life. You never know what's gonna come. Anyway, what else? Before we get started on all that stuff, I've got to give a shout out to our pals over at Manscaped, and I got a question: what's more American than a bald eagle? The 4th of July is almost here, and that means a couple of things: barbecues, pool parties, and last but not least, glitzies. Just so happens that the sponsors of today's show, Manscaped, are making sure all of the glitzy gladiators across the nation are groomed for battle on America's birthday. From sea to shining sea, join over 8 million pube patriots worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer: 20% off and free worldwide shipping with our promo code BATSCAPED at manscaped.com. Again, that promo code is BATSCAPED. Go to manscaped.com, you get 20% off and free shipping. And I got to ask a silly question before I continue. Do you know what glitzies is?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's written here like I know what glitzies is. I don't know what glitzies is.
I'm afraid to Google it.
I'm going to Google it at work just because I'm all in.
Bet.
Like, I thought where they were going with what's more American than a bald eagle, bald balls. That's where I thought they were going. But no, apparently not.
Okay.
Anyway.
We're old and out of touch, you know.
Apparently. So glitzies aside, if you guys know, let me know. I honestly have no idea. But it doesn't matter. What matters is that Manscaped has all kinds of awesome products for your grooming needs, both below the waist and over your entire body. America's favorite is the Performance Package 4.0 because that has the Lawnmower 4.0, which is the best trimmer you can buy. It also has the Weed Whacker, which is for the ear and nose hairs. It has the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, the Crop Reviver Toner, the Performance Boxer Briefs, and a travel bag. So I call it the sampler platter because it gives you a little bit of everything. But all their stuff is great, and you know, without oversharing, I'm in the market for more boxers. So I might have to make a boxer order because they're really nice. They were nice enough to send them when they were new, when they redid their boxers, and they're like my favorite ones. And I feel like it's time to get some more. So I don't know what you guys are on the lookout for, whether it be a trimmer, whether it be body wash or shampoo, conditioner, deodorant, any of their amazing products. But go to manscaped.com, look around, and if anything speaks to you and you're going to make a purchase, please do use that promo code BATSCAPED, because that way you get your 20% off, you get your free shipping, and worldwide. So even if you're like living down with Brendan and it's winter right now, which is weird, and you got to trim things up, you get free worldwide shipping. And that way you're also supporting Holy BatCast and you're getting nice things for you. And then Manscaped, they get business. So everybody wins. So we would appreciate that. Please go to manscaped.com, do a little shopping. And if you're going to make that purchase, please use that promo code BATSCAPED. I use the products. Jamie uses the products. Brendan uses the products. But don't hold that against Manscaped. The products are great. High quality. And so, yeah. Check it out. And just like we thank the patrons, as always, I got to give a big thank you to everybody who has made a purchase at Manscaped, because it shows that it's working. And I hope that everybody out there who has made those purchases has been happy with what you bought. So thanks.
I'm wearing Manscaped right now and I smell fantastic.
Hey, look at you. Well, I went on an Alaskan cruise a few weeks ago, and you better believe I packed all my Manscaped lip balm. Because I don't have to worry about lip balm in freaking June in Florida, but all of a sudden in Alaska, I was using it up like crazy. So I was very grateful for that. So all the stuff is really good. And yeah, we truly do just use it every day because it's good stuff. So thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring the show. And thank you to everybody who has already made those purchases. And if you know what glitzies are, let us know. Because, I'm still confused. All right. Well,
I just read the definition. I'm still not sure I know what it means. So
okay, great.
Move along.
Helpful.
Everybody figure it out for yourselves.
Okay. Context clues doesn't tell me much, right?
Yeah.
What else? Before we get to Superman, I have another little piece of housekeeping to share. If you guys listened to the last episode number 400, our review of The Flash, I did share, some personal news that I lost my father a few weeks ago. And so, that plus other family responsibilities are going to be taking up a lot of my time over the next few weeks. So I'm going to be, right now I'm back home in Florida, but I'm going to be going back out to Illinois very shortly to help the family, help get things ready for the funeral, all that stuff. That is no fun, but you got to do it because you love your family and we want to send my dad off in style. And so first of all, I should say thank you to every person who has reached out after that episode with kind words of support and love about me and about my dad. And yeah, it's really tough. And, we're all making it through and taking it one day at a time and all that stuff. But truly for everybody who wrote in or sent me a DM on Twitter or Instagram or wherever it is that you've contacted me, those messages truly meant the world to me while I'm grieving and going through this. It's very helpful. So I hope you know that it really means a lot to me. And I appreciate everybody who took time out of their busy lives and dealing with whatever they're dealing with to send me some kind words about my dad. So thank you. Thank you so much. But my original point was because of all of this, I'm going to be taking July off of Holy BatCast. So there will be no new episodes in July. I've already told Jamie, I've told Brendan, but part of it is just mental health stuff. And part of it is just logistical stuff of having to be away from home for an extended period of time dealing with family things. Not to mention other things going on in my life that I have not let you guys in on. But let's just say that when it rains, it pours. We'll leave it at that. Catherine and Harley are great, so don't worry about them. They're awesome. But yeah, it's just it's not enough to lose one parent. They're just other things that need my attention right now. So I hope you all will understand that it's going to be a few weeks between episodes. So I just made the call. I'm like, I just need to take July off so I can focus on family. And then come August, I'll be back raring to go with Jamie, Brendan, and everyone else in tow. And we'll be back before you know it. So just wanted to give you the heads up so you're not surprised. And I thank you in advance for your patience and your understanding. But sometimes you got to prioritize. And as much as I love this show and what an outlet it is for me, sometimes you just gotta focus on family.
Family and mental health are far more important than a bunch of dorks sitting around chatting about comic book stuff. So
yeah,
I'm fully supportive of you and hope everything works out well. If you want to catch dinner while you're back up north, call me.
Catherine asked me that. She's like, "Are we gonna try to see Jamie?" I'm like, "Maybe." Like, we haven't quite figured out
I'm
while
not
we're
going to push
there,
the
but
issue
yeah,
because I know you guys are going to be busier than hog snot when you're up here. So
yeah.
if it works out, let me know. If not, I get it.
I mean, if you want to come to a funeral, it'll be a lot of fun.
I
Sorry,
mean,
sometimes you just gotta laugh.
no, I fully understand that, but I don't function well at funerals. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Totally understand. But anyway, thanks, Jamie. Thank you for understanding, and for Brendan as well. And again, for everybody out there, you guys have been amazing. And I just hope you know how much it really is appreciated. And I love you guys.
word.
All right. Well, now that all that's out of the way, you want to talk about, well, before we get to Batman or The Flash, Batman by way of The Flash, let's talk about Superman.
Well, let me take care of
Legacy.
my housekeeping first. I just want to let everybody know if there's like some weird pauses or I sound funny tonight. I've smoked 5 packs of Canadian Wildfire in the last 2 days, so my throat is like torn up right now. So bear with me here.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I have seen bits and pieces. I guess I didn't realize it was hitting you.
Yeah.
I knew it was hitting Chicago really bad.
It flowed into us. What is today? Thursday. So like Monday night, Tuesday, it got to us, and it's just been nothing but like pure haze ever since.
Oh, gross.
And it's brutal because I have like allergies to like certain plants and stuff like that anyway. So like this is not helping me. I can go to work for a day and a half because of this stuff.
Oh, wow. Is that? Yeah. I mean, I've seen some photos again mostly from Chicago, but I guess you're close enough that it makes sense. Oy, well, hang in there. All right. Let's talk about Superman Legacy. So it's nice to get some good news amongst the bad news. I'll start there because, we as DC fans, man, do we go through it. And we're just used to bad news and bad news and bad news. And so it was nice to get a little shine of light. I mean, at least for us, this was good news. I know that not everybody agrees, but we've got our new Superman and we got our new Lois Lane. So a short list had been making the rounds now for a month or two. And then it kind of got narrowed and narrowed and narrowed. And then rumors started coming out that at least that David Corenswet was cast as Superman. And so we knew that it was imminent, that the announcement was imminent. And sure enough, he is. David Corenswet. Sometimes fan casts just nail it. David Corenswet is our new Clark Kent Superman. And alongside him, we have our new Lois Lane. And that is Rachel Brosnahan from, is it The Fabulous Mrs. Maisel?
Marvelous Mrs.
The
Maisel.
Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. We'll talk about it, but I don't watch that show.
It's really good. You should.
I've heard nothing but good things, so I absolutely I trust you. But we have a new.
My wife loves that show, dude. Come on, what's that tell you?
I believe you. I truly do. So yes, it was. I think it was broken officially by Deadline, and then James Gunn retweeted it, and he said, "This is true. This is accurate." And he says something about like, not only are they talented, but they're both wonderful people in general, or something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing. And so, full steam ahead on Superman Legacy. David Corenswet, Rachel Brosnahan, Jamie, how do you feel?
David Corenswet, I'm sure I've seen a couple of things with him in it. Like, wasn't he one of the male leads in Pearl?
He was,
okay,
and
so
he was also in Hollywood, which I know we both watched.
Yes, I did watch that.
It's
been a minute, but great show.
Such a good show. I was just telling our friend Phil, because he goes, "Oh, I didn't watch Hollywood." I was like, "Watch Hollywood." It was on Netflix. I'm sure it's still there. God, that was such a good show. But yes, that he was in there too. He was also on The Politician, which was on Netflix. Those are the 3 big things I know him from.
I watched that.
He is only. Oh, The Politician's great too. It's another Ryan Murphy thing. So all of those things he is great in. And he has continued to, I think. I don't. I mean, I'm sure he was always good, but he continues to get bigger roles, and he's definitely on the rise. Let's say that.
Okay. Well, I've heard a lot of people talk about he was, a number one choice to succeed Cavill in the role, and obviously looks wise, I think he certainly is set there. I don't have any complaints as far as like I think he's too far removed from the character I know or any of that baloney. So I don't have a lot to say as far as like his talent, but I mean, I didn't know Gal Gadot from Adam when I watched Wonder Woman. So let's go with this and see what happens.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a star on the rise, but yes, he has not had the one big huge breakout, but it seems like this will be that. But he also
how old is he?
He's 29.
Oh, okay.
And you know, he's not as unknown as like a Brandon Routh was, or like even a Christopher Reeve was. But I don't know, he's probably just about the same amount of famous as Cavill was, even though Cavill did some movies prior to being cast as Superman. So, you know, I will say again, having watched those three big things, Pearl, Hollywood, and The Politician, Hollywood is probably where you're going to get the best feel for him as Clark Kent and Superman, but he's so charismatic, and of course he looks the part. He looks like Superman. There's a reason that when he showed up in The Politician, I started getting emails here of being like, hey, have you heard of David Cornsweet? He should be Superman. And I was like, I have never heard that name before. I don't even know what The Politician is. And then I watched it in quarantine, and the show's great, but his role is pretty small. It's pivotal, but small. But I was like, oh yeah, he looks like Superman, sure. And then when I saw him in Hollywood, I was like, oh, okay, I'll join the ranks of the fans who think he should be Superman, because he's just he looks exactly like Superman, and he has the charm and charisma and talent to do it. So I'm all in on him. I'm super excited.
Okay, that's good enough for me. And Rachel Brosnahan, I don't know if you recall, I think it was you and Brendan I discussed this with, that I had heard she was on the short list and gave I forget what the quote was, but something to the effect of a magnificent audition.
Mm-hmm.
And all I could think to myself was, I am going to be so pissed off if anybody but her gets this part now.
Yeah.
Because if you watch The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, she's got a lot of that Lois Lane spunk in her. Like, she's that strong, independent, witty, intelligent woman that she's what you want out of a Lois Lane. Mm-hmm. So, any of you who haven't seen Mrs. Maisel, go check that show out, because I think that's going to give us a taste of what we're going to get out of this character. She's a very good, very talented actress. She's absolutely lovely, and she brings a lot of weight with her range and what she brings. She's funny. She can do drama. I mean, she's all there. Like, the only thing I haven't really seen her do is action, and Lois can or can't be involved in action either way. We'll see what happens in that regard. But yeah, I'm like beyond excited about her getting this part.
All right. I mean, so that's where, I mean, I started there, but I don't watch The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. But when the shortlist came out, and what's funny is she was on it, so was Samara Weaving was on it. And so I kind of felt like I saw the fans split between the two, and I was at the point where I was like, they both sound great to me, so I'm not going to be mad either way. But I definitely, because they were both such good contenders, I totally understand why people are on one side or the other. But I've not seen The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. However, based on just responses from people I trust, like you, and like a lot of other people, of going, when they heard her as Lois Lane, they went, oh, that's perfect. Oh my God, that's so perfect. And I trust you all enough to go, awesome, then I'm in. Sounds great to me. So it's funny because some of the criticism, and I use that term a little lightly, about the casting of both David Cornsweet and Rachel Brosnahan is it's a little too perfect. And I'm like, there is nothing wrong with too perfect casting, like if they're perfect, they're perfect. Like, let's just go with it. But like, I kind of heard a little bit about like, oh, is it a little on the nose? It's like, well, I mean, don't you kind of want it to be? I didn't want you to go and throw me a curveball for Superman and Lois. I want you to give me a great Superman and Lois. And if these two already are most of the way there, then hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah. I can't comment on Cornsweet very much. I can tell you that every time I say his name, for some reason, it just bothers me. I don't know why saying his name is like, some people have a thing about the word moist. It's like Cornsweet. It's like, it gives me like creepy vibes for some reason.
It's an
nothing against him. It's just the word,
Yeah, we'll get used to it.
Brosnahan, she's fantastic. I mean, I like Samara Weaving a lot. I wouldn't go so far as to say I'm quite in love with her yet or anything, but most of the stuff I see her in, I really, really, really like her in. And I wouldn't have been upset if she was Lois, as long as she didn't get the part of Lois over Rachel Brosnahan. Let's just leave it that way.
Yeah, that's fair. So yeah, I'm actually very excited about these choices. I think they both sound perfect. Bring it on. I can't wait. And as you kind of pointed out, Corin Sweat, he's 29. Brosnahan, she is about to turn 33. And so they also are old enough to have gravity, but young enough to keep playing the parts for a while, right? So I think that it's a smart choice to pick these actors who are at just the right age, that they've got a lot more time in them if these continue, which they should, and hopefully they will, and everything. So I'm really excited about both of them. I think they're great casting choices. I'm all in on both. I say let's do it.
Well, let's refresh our memories here. You would remember better than me because I'm old and forgetful. Gunn's plan is for 10 years, yes?
That sounds right. Yep.
Assuming they start filming next year, by the time the 10 years wraps up, she'll be 44, he'll be 40. That's still not out of the range of where you want your people to be, considering how old some of the castings for major players in this previous rendition of the universe were. I mean, I'm fine with this. I think it's great.
Yeah, totally. And I will
And
also
she doesn't look 33 either. She looks like she could pass for mid-20s.
Yeah, for sure. And I will also just put out the disclaimer that as excited as I am about these, it doesn't mean that I love Henry Cavill any less or Amy Adams any less.
That
I love
goes
them
without
both.
saying, because both of them were fantastic, and
Yeah.
I loved all the movies that I saw them in. But let's face facts here. We're moving on.
It's a new day. Exactly. It's a new day, and I will always love what both of them did with the roles. And so you say it goes without saying. It should, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because you know.
Yeah, I get it.
All right.
I'm with you.
But anyway, it is exciting to know that a new day is dawning for DC on film, and I think that right now James Gunn has picked the right two actors to be Clark and Lois, and so I'm super excited about it.
Is it 2025 yet?
I know. I will also say, just real quick, this is kind of neither here nor there, but just because I said Clark and Lois, which made me think Superman and Lois, I'm just finishing up season 3 of Superman and Lois, and oh my god, guys, it's so good.
I still haven't even started season 2 yet, but I'm in the process of getting caught up with a lot of shows right now, so hopefully I can get that one worked in sooner than later.
Yeah, it's season 3 has just been terrific. Season 2 was good, but like season 3 is even better, and not for the Superman reasons. I'll just say that, since you haven't seen it.
I have to watch season 2 and 3 of that. I have to watch season 2 and 3 of Stargirl. I have to watch the last 7 episodes of Titans. Doom Patrol I've all but given up on at this point because there's just so many other things I'm trying to get watched. I have to do important things, like I finished Ted Lasso and I didn't want to let go of Ted Lasso, so my wife and I the next night restarted Ted Lasso from the beginning.
Oh yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, so yeah.
All right. So anyway, let's move forward and talk about The Flash. I just wanted to get the elephant in the room out of the way right away because I mentioned it on our review episode, because we recorded that review episode, Saturday night opening weekend?
Yep.
And even then we knew that it was not doing well. Or I knew. You were very smartly just disconnected. So you're like, oh, it's not?
I don't care. I don't care anymore. I just don't. If I like a movie, great. If it does well, great. If it doesn't, I don't really want to hear about it.
No, I get it, especially because ever since then, this, like so many other DC movies, the one has been curb stomped to oblivion by the internet and by pundits and by every site and by every tweet. And man, people have just had a field day beating the crap out of this movie, a movie that I still love, by the way. And if all goes as planned, we'll see. I'm going to try and get in one more viewing this weekend. So
how many times have you seen it now? Twice?
Just twice. So I'd like to get
I've
a third time.
still only seen it the once, and I don't feel like I'm going to make it back to the theater for it, just because there's so many other things coming down the pipe right now I need to see. So for my part of it, I know I said the reason I was off of Twitter for about 5-ish weeks was because I wanted to avoid spoilers for the movie. Now I'm not on Twitter because I just don't want to see the dissension into madness.
Oh yeah,
the discussion surrounding this movie, because I'll be honest with you. I think the positive people are way too over positive about it, and the negative people are way too over negative about it. And I'm just like sitting smack dab in the middle. So I'm just doing the same thing with this movie that I do with politics, because I just sit right in the middle in politics too. And I'm just like, I don't want to get involved in the conversation. So yeah, I figure that's better for my own mental health there.
Nope, I do get it and I understand it. So anyway, I wanted to discuss it real quick. So opening weekend, it underperformed significantly. It opened at $55 million as of today, and the movie has now been out 2.5 weeks. This will be the third weekend going in. And domestically, it's made 93 million. Internationally, it's made 123 million, and so right now worldwide, it's at 216. And so the current projections have it finishing up somewhere right around 300 million worldwide. Ironically, these numbers are very similar to Green Lantern in 2011 without inflation. And so, we did our summer movie preview on Real Fans, and we all were like, man, there's so much buzz for The Flash and people are loving it. And we all thought it was going to be the movie of the summer, and we were wrong. Turned out that wasn't the case. So now everybody is, got their own opinions as to why it did what it did. It's worth noting it's certainly not the only movie this summer to underperform, but I mean, this didn't just underperform. This is a flop. We'll just be honest about it. I mean, it opened lower than Black Adam, and it's going to finish well below Black Adam, which is crazy for this movie that had so much hype and so much buzz going into the summer. And for me, I just think it's a shame because, again, I don't think the movie deserves it, and I think it's a great movie, and I think there are a lot of other factors to it. But I guess I'll just go back to what I said last time is to me, it just shows how badly we need the reboot. And so I've joined that we just need a fresh slate. We need a clean slate. The well is poisoned. Close the well. And I think that should be for everything, for the extended universe. And like so many other people, I will mourn the loss of Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman and Momoa as Aquaman. And that sucks. But I just feel like at this point, there's salvaging even a couple pieces still connects it to the last 10 years of drama.
Yep.
And that's where I come is like I've certainly seen a lot of finger pointing and a lot of blaming. And I'll just say this. Everyone's right and everyone is wrong because it's not any one of those things. It is 10 years of those things piling on top of each other. And so there is blame to share everywhere. And it was just one bad thing after another. And some of that blame does go with creative choices. Some of that blame does go with the studio. Some of that blame does go with fans. Some of that blame, like there's blame everywhere. It doesn't even matter anymore. What matters is we need a fresh start. People want to see Superman movies, Batman movies, Wonder Woman movies, and then ideally the rest of the DC universe. But because this movie could not find an audience, the only way to build some of that trust back is to start again. And we need that. And that's part of why I'm so looking forward to Superman Legacy, because I think that it's time. This universe lived for 10 years. And I think I like every movie in those 10 years. So F me. Like, I like or love most of those movies, but I also am realistic enough to go, it doesn't draw, the general audience has checked out. They've checked out on these. And so, yeah, I'm rooting for James Gunn to deliver a Superman movie that is a crowd pleaser, that gets people interested in a DC universe on film again, and then build from there. So I'm really rooting for him. But The Flash, unfortunately, was not we did not end this universe with a bang. We ended it with a whimper.
Well, we still have two more.
I know, which is just even more painful. Although I still can't wait for Aquaman. I still can't wait because it's James Wan. So I'm sure, like The Flash, I'll love it. I'm not holding my breath for like a last minute smash as far as box office goes, but I'm sure I'm going to like it because I like everything James Wan does.
Well, I don't know if you've heard, but early test screenings have said it's hot garbage.
Yeah, well,
because those are the most reliable of sources.
Right. So it is crazy that it's like, we still got two more, so we get to go through this twice more. but I'm not holding my breath for unfortunately for either of them. Not as far as whether or not I will like them, just as far as the box office. So that way, any success would be a nice surprise. But again, to go back to my initial point, we need a
Aquaman 1 was a runaway smash. And it had huge international box office numbers. So we still have the potential there. Yeah. Blue Beetle has a different feel. It doesn't feel entirely connected. Like it feels more like Shazam, where connected but very loosely. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the Latino lead for a superhero film is a pretty fresh thing. So, I mean, maybe that'll pay dividends for them as well as far as box office and that is concerned. And I wish both of those movies all the success in the world, but at this point, after Flash burned as bad as it did, I'm not holding out the hope that it's going to happen.
Right. Exactly.
The potential's there, but I don't have the optimism about it.
For sure. So what's crazy is, and you know, like, and again, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but Aquaman 1, it opened essentially the same as Black Adam domestically. Both of their opening weekends were like $67 million. The difference is Aquaman just kept playing and playing and playing through the holidays, and word of mouth was good. And, you know, it legged it out through the holidays. And then overseas, like you said, it was just massive. It was so huge. Whereas, you know, Black Adam opened at 67 and it did okay. Again, it did fine in the States, but overseas, you know, it did not. And so that was what happened there. But it is crazy that like they kind of opened the same, but then Aquaman took off and then Black Adam did not. And then The Flash certainly did not either. But again, just as far as like my own enjoyment, I'm glad I have a Flash movie that I love. I'm glad we got to see Michael Keaton one last time. I enjoy the movie. I will continue enjoying the movie. I've already pre-ordered the Steelbook. It comes to digital, I think July 18th is what they said. So about a month after it opened in theaters. So be able to enjoy it at home sooner than you made a plan.
Yeah.
So anyway.
You know what saddens me is I think of the 5 people that live in my house, I might be the person that liked it the least. And I did like it. But I feel like everybody else I saw it with liked it more than I did.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's bonkers in this house. When my wife likes a DC superhero movie more than I do, that's really questionable.
Yep. All right, well, let's get to some questions. So we got a lot of them. Let's see how many we can get through. Let's crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox.
It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
Darren, what is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all, Master Wayne.
All right, now these go back like a month. So the first few are from before The Flash even opened. And then obviously then we got some as recent as today. So we'll just see how we can get through. The first one here is from Matthew Carey. It says, "Hey guys, first I want to say thank you for reading my emails on the last couple episodes. It's great to listen to you guys at work and helps me get through my day and a great way to catch up on Batman and DC news. Thanks for all the great episodes and content to keep us entertained. So this weekend I picked up Jurassic League, which reimagines the Justice League as dinosaurs. The story is good, despite the premise, and the artwork is amazing, but it got me wondering, what are some of your favorite Elseworlds non-traditional versions of Batman? I know you say you prefer Bruce Wayne as Batman, but some of the others can be interesting, like the Thomas Wayne Batman from Flashpoint, or the many variants from the Dark Knight Metal series. For me, I love the Caveman Batman from an episode of The Brave and the Bold. So what are your favorites? Would there be any variants that haven't been written yet that you would like to see? And what if Bruce or Thomas were killed? Would Martha become Batwoman? I just thought it would be fun to speculate. Anyway, thank you for the great episodes and entertainment. Matt." Thank you, Matt. I haven't picked up Jurassic League, but I am intrigued because I like the Justice League and I like dinosaurs. So
I feel like they wrote that for you.
I know I really should read it. Yes. Any favorite Batman variants that aren't traditionally Bruce Wayne?
I don't really have any that come to mind because
I have one that I know you like.
Is it Gods and Monsters?
Yeah, Kirk Langstrom.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll go with that one. But I've gotten comics and an animated film involving that, so I can't say that it hasn't been done yet.
Yeah. Yeah. The one that would jump to mind is Thomas Wayne, because I do like that version. I wouldn't want that to be the version, but I feel like as an alternate reality, I've enjoyed the stories about him. And also I just like the way he looks. Like I've liked when they've done like Pirate Batman. I just think he looks cool. I don't know anything about him. I don't know who he is, but I think he looks cool. So.
All right, then.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Next one's up is Mark Bickford. It says, hey, 2 questions. First, I read an article said that everyone who criticized Arnold's performance in Batman and Robin has gotten it wrong. Specifically, according to this piece, Arnold was the only person who read the script and knew what movie he was in. Everyone else thought and acted like they were in a Tim Burton movie. So I'm wondering what you think of this. Second, everyone says the Joker's insane. What do you think that actually means for the character? Keeping in mind that we're talking about a fictional character in a comic book who's been reinterpreted by dozens, if not hundreds of creators over the past 80 years. So what do we mean when we say he's insane? Is it just a storytelling label so he can go to Arkham instead of prison? Have a great week, Mark. Thanks, Mark. First question: do you think Arnold Schwarzenegger's performance has been misinterpreted for Batman and Robin?
For all of the many, many, many issues I have with that film, criticizing the performances of the main characters isn't really on my list of things to jump on it about. Like, I have way more egregious problems with that film than Schwarzenegger or Uma Thurman or Clooney or any of them. I mean, I don't have any specific things to point to where I can say, this is why I don't like this movie, is because of this line delivery or whatever. And I don't feel like Uma Thurman was oblivious to what movie she was making.
No, that's what I was going to say, is I feel like most people tend to give Uma Thurman a pass because she does seem to know what she's making, and her performance isn't bad so much as it's very much what this movie is. I'm not giving Arnold a pass. I love Arnold. I love him. I love him. I love him. But Mr. Freeze is supposed to be devoid of emotion and should not be making a pun every 5 seconds. So the fact that he couldn't even keep his delivery like icy, like Mr. Freeze, I'm like, nah, I'm sorry. I'm still not buying it. I didn't need Mr. Freeze to be cackling and making bad jokes.
But that's what villains do in that movie.
I mean, that's
in all 4 of those movies, actually. But
to an extent. I always said, Schumacher, because of Batman Returns being quote unquote too dark, Schumacher decided, what if every villain's the Joker? And that to me has always been a drawback of those.
Mm.
And then what do you think it means that the Joker is insane?
Well, I don't know where the quote originates or who said it, but I've heard numerous times over the years that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And he's always trying to pick a fight with Batman.
Yeah, he doesn't learn.
No, but to say that he's insane or psychotic, I mean, there's so many labels that we can put on thing, and it's a fluid thing. It's ever evolving and changing. So, you have so many definitions now that don't necessarily fit what the definitions were even a decade ago. So I don't know, but somebody that enjoys hurting people that much clearly is not right in the head. So whatever label you want to attach to that, it definitely fits him.
Yeah, I agree. Exactly. Like, it's like when you consider everything he does and the way he thinks and like, he is not a sane person. He is insane. He kills that many people. He has no remorse. He has, he's certainly a sociopath, right? He has no empathy. So I think that he fits the definition of being insane. So I think it's fair, but yeah, I mean, he's the Joker. He does the most twisted stuff in the world. So I don't think he's sane.
I once watched that guy shoot a dude over some French fries at a drive-thru window.
I know. I still feel bad for that manager. All right. Next message is from CJ Higgins. It says, hey, Bat Dads, happy Father's Month. And so I wanted to check with Andy about how fatherhood has been. I hope your little one isn't too much chaos. Does Harley know who Batman is yet? Your bat friend, CJ Higgins. Thanks, CJ.
Well, time out. I want to address something here. We get a whole month because I missed the bulletin.
I mean, kind of. I'll take it. That's fine. She is too much chaos, but it's okay because she's so cute. But she is, yes, she is nonstop right now, and she has no fear. So she is going, and crawling and getting into stuff and climbing things, and oh my god, she's just madness. But it's okay. I just get really tired chasing her.
Hey,
But
I've seen the roller coasters her parents get on, so she better be ready for that.
this is true. But does she know who Batman is yet? Yes, she has Batman toys. She has Batman books. And she says mama, and she says dada, and she says Batman.
Yes.
So we're well on our way.
This child's future is set.
We're doing what we can. Next message is from Benjamin. It says, "Hey, Batcasters. I can't believe this is my first time writing in, considering I've been listening as far back as Andy was on Batman News. Huh. I especially love your DC animated movie reviews, and I listen whenever I'm feeling down. It's the best background for errands and chores, so thank you. Anyway, speaking of DC animated movies, here's my question. I just saw Across the Spider-Verse, and I thought it was great. Whether you've seen it or not, and without spoiling anything, we get to see Spider-Man from all media, not just in animation or comic form. That said, what would you want to see in a Batman movie using the Spider-Verse multimedia template? I know it's tempting to say that we're getting it now in The Flash while traveling the multiverse, but this would be a primarily animated Batman movie, not live action. And I'd personally love to see different styles of animation throughout Bat history combined with the endless comic art to choose from. Thanks for all the great pods. I can't wait to hear your spoiler review of The Flash. I already know my favorite part will be Jamie's continued Flash denial even after it's out."
No, it exists. I've relented on that.
Your fellow Bat nerd, Benjamin. Thanks, Benjamin. So I have not seen Spider-Verse yet. I assume Jamie has not either.
No. To my children's protest, they all want to see it.
But I did get the Spider-Man Whopper at Burger King. So does that count?
I suppose.
Yeah. Anyway. So if we were to get like a Batverse animated movie, who would you want to see, Jamie?
Gosh, I don't know how to answer this because I feel like I watch stuff like, Brave and the Bold, and they at times have taken, tours down those road, even if they're brief. And I've always enjoyed that. So getting something like that in like a 90 to 120 minute format, I'd be okay with, but I'm not sure exactly what I would necessarily want or expect out of it.
Yeah. I mean, my answer is select all. So like if you are in animation, it allows you to do anything and everything. And like you said, Jamie, with like Brave and the Bold, whenever they've done that, it's been amazing. So if you were to truly go all in on different versions of Batman, I would include everything, starting with, multiple versions of the comics throughout the eras, but from the 1940 serials to Adam West, to all the live action Batman, to the animated Batman from Filmation, to Super Friends, to Batman the Animated Series, to Justice League, to The Batman, et cetera, et cetera. Like, all of them. All the above.
That sounds like one busy movie.
I mean, just from the trailers of Spider-Verse, it seems like a busy movie. Doesn't mean that they all have to have a character arc, but they can all show up here and there.
Fair enough.
All right, next message from our pal Chris, the Objective Geek.
Oh, Lord, here we go.
He says, I have a question that hopefully won't get you into too much trouble. Which Batman or DC film, TV show, comic, toy, video game, or any other project that you were really excited for and thought that you would love, but it turned out to be your biggest disappointment? For me, it's Superman 64, the video game. I waited for weeks and weeks to rent it because it wasn't available, and then when I played it, it was horrible. Another question, what movie is in your top favorite 10 to 20 movies of all time that most people would be surprised about? For me, that's Crazy Stupid Love. If you haven't seen it, it's a must-see rom-com. Anyway, keep up the great work. All right, thanks, Chris. So, something DC related, Jamie, that you were so excited for, and it broke your heart.
I'm going to have to stew on that one for a minute, but let me address the top 20 that might surprise people. Aaron Brockovich.
Oh, okay.
I adore that movie. I never get tired of it. I can watch that movie on loop for days at a time, and I just absolutely love every single frame of that film and can't get enough of it.
All right.
Like, it's probably literally pushing my top 10 at this point.
Okay. Nice. It wouldn't be a surprise for anyone who's listened to the podcast, but for anyone who knows me, they might be surprised, and that's Hoosiers.
Well, I was going to guess every Hallmark movie.
Oh, yeah, I mean, they're all tied for number 20. But yeah, Hoosiers, because, I'm not a sports fan. So people would be like, really? A sports movie? But man, that movie's just so damn good, it doesn't even matter. I love that movie so much. So good. And if we're talking like rom-coms, Sliding Doors. I also just love Sliding Doors.
My Best Friend's Wedding.
Oh, that's a good one too.
I don't think I have it probably in my top 50, but that's one of those movies that for years people would come over and they'd like look at the DVD shelf and they're like, what is this? I'm like, oh, that's my wife's. But I just accept it now. I love that movie. I'm not going to apologize for loving it.
It's a great movie. Yeah.
It makes me smile. I adore it.
And then a DC thing that broke your heart. I said broke your heart. You didn't say that, but just one that really was a huge disappointment. I got two. I'm going to follow your lead, Chris, with video games because I got back into video games pretty hardcore with the GameCube. I love my GameCube. And I was so excited about Batman Dark Tomorrow. And then it came out and I popped it in. And like the very first thing you have to do is like swing across rooftops to get to Commissioner Gordon so he could give you your mission. And I think I spent a half an hour just trying to swing across the rooftops to get to Commissioner Gordon. And I got so mad that I turned it off and I pretty much never played it again. And it sucked because it looked like such a pretty game. It was like, it had so many characters in it, but the gameplay was so frustrating that I couldn't actually enjoy it. So one of these days I should probably just watch someone play it on YouTube because I am curious, but it was one of those where like I bought it the day of and I raced home and I put it in and it was so frustrating. That was it.
I think difficulty in play of Batman video games was like a staple until the Arkham games came along.
Yeah.
That Batman 89 game was a son of a bitch. Oh my God.
Yeah, but at least I could get a couple levels in before,
True, but that thing was so infuriatingly difficult as you went along. Yeah. It was
no doubt
madness. That's probably why I have these bald patches on my head now. Is from ripping out my hair playing that game. Disappointments that I can generate now in thinking about it. And this one I kind of knew to be a little apprehensive going in, but the Batman Catwoman maxi series from Tom King that was going to feature the inclusion of Phantasm being put into continuity. I was so stoked for that thing, and I couldn't make it past book 6 out of 12. But I knew that risk going in because I know how I am with Tom King. But I'm going to go ahead and put that down as my answer.
No, that's a good one. And the other one, it might be a little controversial because I don't hate it, but man, was I just kind of heartbroken. Superman Returns. Because I was so excited for a new Superman movie with Superman Returns. And then when it was over, I was like, what is this feeling? Like I wanted to love that so much. And it certainly has its moments, but yeah, I was so excited and just so let down.
I think that's fair. And I like that movie. It has issues. There's no question about it having issues. But like once every couple of years, I put it in hoping that'll be the time that it clicks and I fall in love with that film. And I can't.
Exactly. And that's exactly it. Yep. I so wanted to love it. And it's okay. But even now, I'll see posters or whatever, and it'll take me back to 2006, and I'll be like, "Oh God, I wanted to love it so bad."
God, that final trailer for that thing was so good too. I was worked up over seeing that thing in the theater, and just didn't pan out.
I know. All right, next message is from Mark Bickford. It says, "Hey, I apologize for 2 emails this week, but I was surprised at your missing pop songs in your response to a recent email. The first one I thought of was Jimmy Olsen's Blues by the Spin Doctors, and the second was a Prince number you might have heard, Bat Dance. Finally, an older one that you thought of was Don't Mess Around with Jim by Jim Croce, and includes the line, Don't Tug on Superman's Cape. Enjoy the rest of the day, because now that I mentioned the Spin Doctors, you may have 2 Princes stuck in your head, Mark." Thanks, Mark. This was a couple episodes ago, and I'll just say, it was off the cuff. It was whatever we could think of in the moment. It's not like we missed stuff. It was just like, well, here are the ones that I can think of right now. And Bat Dance doesn't count because that was made for a Batman movie. Um, but yes, I mean, here are some more suggestions. I was surprised. We actually got quite a few messages of like, "Hey, what about this one? What about this one?" I'm like, "Yeah, there's lots of them out there, but in the moment, you can think of what you can think of."
Yeah.
Next message is from Tyler Kloster. It says, "Hey, I have a couple topics, and I wanted you to weigh in. Number one, do you think that Batmania can ever really hit again the way it did in 1989 and then again in 2008?" So last year, Matt Reeves gave us, in my opinion, one of the greatest Batman movies of all time, as well as DC's only real box office success since the pandemic. And yet it didn't really dominate the culture the way the 89 or '08 movies did, which were easily the biggest movies of those years. The Batman was surprisingly only the third biggest superhero movie of last year, even though it is arguably the most respected and beloved, not by you guys, admittedly. Can we ever have Batmania again? He's clearly one of the two biggest superheroes in the world, and yet I just don't know if the character can ever hit that hard again because he's never really gone away since 2008. Number two, with the much-deserved success of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse seemingly putting to bed the notion of superhero fatigue, let me offer an alternate theory. Is it possible that audiences are actually experiencing universe fatigue at this point in the superhero movie cycle? The success of non-universe movies like Spider-Verse or The Batman, combined with the decline in success and enthusiasm for the MCU and the non-Batman DC movies in the last few years, makes me think that audiences might be weary of the whole big overarching story shared universe thing. I hope not, because I want James Gunn's DC reboot to succeed, and I want my Swamp Thing movie, damn it. But I wonder if audiences might be wanting something closer to 2000 through 07, when we had a bunch of Marvel and DC movies that were unconnected. Thoughts? Keep up the great podcast, and sorry for the short email. Yeah, short email. Sure. Okay, so first question. Do you think that we could ever have Batmania again, Jamie?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I just think it takes the right circumstances, the right product, the right mass appeal to every corner of 6-year-olds to 70-year-olds. It needs to be something that appeals to a larger audience. It has to be that, and it has to not only appeal to those age brackets, but it also has to be beloved by all those age brackets after they see the film. So, I mean, you'll get a hype machine built up going into something. I mean, the hype machine behind BVS was borderline Batmania, I think. I don't think it was quite there. I think if the movie would have been a more resounding received success, it probably would have been at those levels.
Yeah.
But I feel like the hype has to be there, and then the product has to deliver or exceed what the hype promised.
Yep.
And if that happens, I think we have another Batmania on our hands.
Yep. Couldn't have said it better. Agree 100%. And then I think all your points I agree with, and then even Tyler's point is I think it would also help to get a little bat break, so people can miss him. But even though the Batman was successful, it still wasn't a 4-quadrant crowd pleaser. As much as a lot of fans like it, it didn't break through in the way Batman 89 or The Dark Knight did. So there is a Batman movie that could do that, and we just have to wait and see if it shows back up in our lifetime. And then interesting theory about the universe fatigue. I don't know, Jamie, what do you think?
I don't know about this whole whatever you want to call it. The fatigue thing, I think, is just such a broad generalization. I don't know if I buy into it, because sometimes I'll get fatigued by something and not want to watch it for a while, and then I'll watch it and I'm like right back into the swing, if that makes sense. Like television series, I'm like that with. Like I'll go like 2 weeks and watching an episode of a TV series every night, and I'll drop it for a month or two, and then pick it back up, and it's like, oh, why did I stop doing this? I mean, I'm moody. I can't speak for the entire world, but I'm a moody bitch when it comes to my content. So what I read and watch and movies, TV, any of that stuff, it all is many times contingent on what kind of mood I'm in when I do it. Sometimes I'm in the mood to watch capes and laser beams and falling skyscrapers, and sometimes I'm in the mood to watch something smaller and quieter about American college football coach coaching soccer in England. I mean, it's just, sometimes you just need variety.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's what people are meaning by the fatigue, is they're lumping all of this superhero content under one umbrella and thinking that it's the same thing, because there are so many variances in the superhero comic book movie world. I don't believe that that's the case. I don't know. I can't speak for everybody.
Yeah.
I can just tell you, I don't know that I agree with the whole idea behind superhero fatigue, franchise fatigue. I don't know.
I agree with you. And I think that to your point, you can't, you can't just go, oh, people are tired of superhero movies, or in this case, people are just tired of connected universes. Cause I don't think it's as simple as that, because if people want to see a movie, they're going to go see a movie. I do think that, and we've talked about this recently, I do think that there is certainly a cautionary tale with things being too connected, where if a new Marvel movie is coming out, they expect that you watch 2 shows on Disney Plus to understand the movie. I think that is an issue. And I think that is part of where the last few MCU installments have struggled a little bit. Not all, but yes, I do think that there's a certain, you can't expect everyone to watch everything. And I think that is something that I really hope James Gunn is careful about. Especially because Guardians 3 has done very well. And I think part of the reason that is because, you could just watch it, like it wasn't as interconnected with this overarching, interconnected universe. And so it was easier for people to go, oh, well, I'll see Guardians 3, even though I didn't go see Quantumania or whatever. But yeah, I don't think it's like people are just tired of a shared universe. I think there's a balance, right? It's like, it has to be shared, but it can't rely on that. It still has to be standalone enough that people can come in and out as they want. And I think that is going to be the key for what James Gunn is doing. I do get a little worried whenever he says, well, we're telling one big story. And I'm like, okay, but you can't expect everyone to see everything. But yes, I don't think that there's superhero fatigue, but I do think that because there are so many superhero movies, that every superhero movie is not a must-see anymore. And so it has to be something that it has a hook that people want to come check out. Like
that, there it is. I think that's what I was looking for, and I think you just kind of opened my eyes a little better to it. I feel like it all used to be event level stuff.
Yes.
And now it's what's coming out this month.
Right. Exactly. It's like, oh, here's one, and then in a few weeks we'll get another one, and then in a few weeks we'll get another one, and they don't feel like events anymore because they're constantly coming. And I think that's what hurt Shazam so much, is because Shazam was just, the hook was Shazam's back, come see it. Like there wasn't a stronger draw than that. So whereas Across the Spider-Verse had a very strong hook, and it's certainly succeeding at the box office the way Guardians 3 is. I thought Flash had a really strong hook, but I guess not for
movies that
everyone.
are perceived as great still reap the benefits of the success, the money and the praise and everything else. So I don't believe it's that people are tired of it. I just believe people have choices.
Yep.
Like in some cases, people have to pick and choose what they do, because I don't know how much I'm spending on streaming services right now, but I imagine it's somewhere to the tune of $150 a month for all the streaming services that I have. Some are on annual, some are on monthly, things like that. But I pretty much have every streaming service you can imagine that hasn't been invented in the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm spending a lot of money every month for that. And some months I'll watch a bunch of Hulu, and then I might not watch Hulu again for 2 months. Because I have so many other things I'm watching on HBO or Amazon or Netflix or whatever. So I want to keep Hulu. I don't want to get rid of it. I don't have Hulu fatigue. I just have so many other choices around it that it might take me a while to circle back to it. And with how expensive it is to go to a movie, around here, I don't know what it's like in Florida or California or anywhere else, but around here, going to a matinee movie is $11 a head now. If you take a family of 5 and don't buy popcorn or anything with taxes and all, you've spent $60.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of money, especially if you're going to do it more than, if you're going to do it once a week like my family does, or, a couple times a month, that adds up in a big hurry. So if you've got 3 bloody superhero movies that come out in a month, yeah, people are going to start picking and choosing the ones that have piqued their interest beyond something of, I just have to see this superhero movie.
Yep. Nope. I agree. I have to spend at least $60 just to walk out the door to go see a movie.
Oh yeah, the babysitter thing.
Yeah. So you better believe we have to pick and choose.
Yeah.
All right, next message is from Stephen Marshall. It says, hey, I just got done listening to your OnStar commercial episode, and boy, did that bring back memories. Like Brendan, I don't think we had or have OnStar over here, but I definitely saw those commercials, which I probably saw on TNT, but we'd sometimes get American ads. I recall seeing the Birds of Prey TV series at the time, too, and I'm sure that was the same guy as Batman that we saw briefly in it. It made me think at the time, why not just make a Batman TV show with those guys? That would have been cool back in the early 2000s when we were waiting for Batman to return to the big screen. So thanks for the trip down memory lane. Secondly, I wanted to discuss something in regards to the Flash movie. I won't go into details on the off chance that I spoil it, even though by the time you read this, we probably will have all seen it. But I saw some cameos online, which are cool, but I can't help but wonder, why didn't they use archival footage of the actors for the cameos instead of using CG? Do you think they'd have to pay residuals to certain people or their estates if they use the footage? I'm just curious as to your thoughts as to why they did the cameos that way. Lastly, I forgot to thank you guys for the Manscaped code. Thanks. My balls are now fresher than ever. Anyway, have a great day, Steven. Thank you, Steven. I'm glad you enjoyed the OnStar episode. That was another one where we had a blast doing it. So it was so much fun to go back and watch all those.
I had absolutely zero memory of any of that, which must show how much TV I was watching during that time.
Yeah, understandable. But man, they're hidden gems. They're really cool. Did you go back and watch them now?
No.
Dude.
I listened to the episode. That was enough.
Well, that's good enough, but you should really
OnStar was a GM product. I'm a Ford guy, so.
Okay. So at this point, we should say, this is where the Flash questions are going to come in hot and heavy. We are going to speak spoilers. So if for some reason you don't want to be spoiled, I mean, at this point, I think everything's been spoiled, but spoiler warning is in effect. How do you feel about, let me address this real quick. They have to pay likeness issues and get permission to use a likeness, whether it's done in CG or archival footage. Doesn't matter. If you are using the likeness of an actor, you have to pay them or their estate. So it doesn't matter whether it was CG or whether they used old footage. And my understanding is they did use old footage and then use that to create the CG versions of the actors. And why did they do that? I think, and it's kind of like what we said in the review episode, is they were in the Speed Force. And so everything in the Speed Force except Barry had this like unreal CG look about them. And so I think all the cameos looked like that too, because they were in the Speed Force. And so I just thought it was a stylistic choice. Anything to add, Jamie?
No, not really. I don't have the issue with the visual effects of that film like so many people are piling on. So I thought pretty much all the cameos that I can recall anyway were fantastic, and I really liked them. I can say that much.
I agree. Next message is from Mark Hall. It says, hey, a longtime listener, first time emailer, and a brand new patron. Oh, thanks, Mark. It says, there is a new James Gunn interview on Michael Rosenbaum's podcast, and I highly recommend it. I've never been more excited for DC. I love the MCU, but the tide is turning because what he is selling is definitely has me excited, especially for Superman. With that in mind, I saw The Flash, and wow, I adored it. It's my favorite movie of the year so far, and personally for me, the best comic book multiverse movie so far. And I also loved Across the Spider-Verse, but come on, it was half a movie. First thing I heard when I came out was your latest podcast where you thanked me for being a patron. I felt like I'd been pulled into the official DCU as I consider you guys and your podcast as much a part of the world as the comics, films, etc. So thank you. Anyway, I love what you guys do. Keep up the great work, Mark. Thank you, Mark. And thank you for being a patron and for supporting. And That's so nice to say that you consider this podcast part of the DC universe. That makes me very happy. I love
That
that.
might be the most flattering thing I've heard in months. Thank
I
you.
know it really is. That's wonderful. So no real question here, but I did listen to the James Gunn interview on the Rosenbaum podcast, and I agree with you. I loved it. Um, he didn't give a lot up about DC, but hearing his excitement about Superman was infectious, and that's just another reason I am really excited. So that was very cool.
I haven't listened to it, but I haven't heard Gunn say anything that scares me about what he's doing with this universe.
Yeah, it was really good. So, Mark, thank you. You're awesome, and I'm so glad that you love the Flash too. And don't let the internet get to you. If you love it, love it. Next message is our pal Stuart from Guernsey. It says, "I saw the Flash. I loved it, but now I feel like a spoiled child who's been lucky enough to be given a piece of cake, but now I want the whole thing. All the Keaton stuff was amazing, and at one point my son said to me I had the biggest smile on my face because he knows how much I love Batman 89. I'm not going into spoilers, but I will. But when I sent this email, it's still the 15th, so I'm not sure what you didn't see. But I'm gutted that Keaton was killed off, and knowing that was not entirely the original plan makes me disappointed. This is not what I wanted for Bruce, but I get that when this was made differently, or it was made by a different team at Warner's who made the original plans, and now they've changed. I hope we get the original deleted scenes with Keaton at the end of the movie, because we saw those spy pictures. It'll just be fun to see. Anyway, I'm looking forward to the review. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you and your family had a great vacation. Thanks, Stuart. I get it. I'm so grateful we got Keaton one last time in The Flash, and I don't think he disappointed either as Bruce or as Batman. But yeah, it's a bummer that that's it. But again, I've kind of made my peace with that too, because he's 70 years old. So, getting one more piece of cake is better than a cake I thought we had finished 30 years ago.
That was kind of the whole thing for me. My thoughts on Flash aside, Keaton's great. I love Keaton, but I didn't really want a 70-something Batman going forward. So I'm not entirely heartbroken that chapter appears to be closed now.
Exactly. Yeah. I agree. And I would have loved more, but again, maybe if he was 10 years younger, but 70 is 70. Or he could be Harrison Ford and do it for 10 more years.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I should be sitting in a theater watching Dial of Destiny right now, but I just can't bring myself to do it for some reason.
Oh, okay. All right, next message is from Hugh Morris. It says, "What's up, Holy BatCast? I'm fresh from The Flash, and spoilers, it was great. My wife joined me, and she doesn't care for comic book movies, and she thoroughly enjoyed it too. She didn't come out of the movie saying the CGI was terrible or good Batman movie. I can say I wasn't a fan of the hospital scene, but I guess it's something we've never seen before. My question is, what's next? Can you guys cast a sequel, The Flash 2? Here we go again. I hope you enjoyed it. Keep up the good work." Thanks, Hugh, and I'm so glad you loved it.
I love the hospital scene. Am I alone in this chapter, or what? I feel like everybody's like, "Oh, the movie was really good except for that." And I'm like, that might have been my favorite damn part of the movie.
As I said in the review, I really like the scene. I just wish the babies looked like babies.
Yeah, you guys are all critics. Going back to American Sniper on this stuff, so.
Oh, God, yes. I forgot about the baby in American Sniper. Classic. Anyway, I think it's safe to say there's not going to be The Flash 2. I think that's it. But it's a shame. I thought I had a good idea for a Flash 2, which was Flash versus the Rogues, but then Mirror Master escapes into the multiverse, and then Flash has to chase him through the multiverse, which then still allows you to, have fun with what that could be.
I'm looking forward to whatever comes next in the Gunverse, or whatever we're going to call it, just because I don't want Flash's first friggin' movie to be a multiversal tale with 5 other people involved. Give me the Flash versus a rogue or 3 rogues or something like that. I don't need this. I respect the idea of, don't save anything for the sequel and because you may not get it. But at the same time, I don't mind a smaller scale superhero film.
No,
I don't think
I get
they
that.
all need to be these massive Avengers level, Justice League level kind of thing by the time it's all said and done. I think we can get a little smaller. I think we can have a one-on-one fight to end a movie. We don't need an army of cannon fodder. I've been griping about that for 6 or 7 years now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I will say that's one thing that'll be kind of, I think, refreshing about Blue Beetle is it feels like a much smaller and, I don't even know what the right word is. A smaller, but not in a bad way, like just kind of a little bit, a little more ground level and a little more reined in superhero movie. And I think that can be fun too, different flavor.
That's actually my one concern about Aquaman 2 is that freaking thing was so epic with villains and the final battle and everything else. I'm like, I don't know how they could possibly top that in the sequel.
I know. Well,
so I almost feel like they're going to have to force themselves to go smaller just to keep from trying to outdo it.
Do you remember when they delayed Aquaman 2 and James Wan tweeted out some concept art?
Vaguely.
It's crazy. Most people forget this. And anytime I get worried about Aquaman 2, I just think about that concept art because, oh man, it was epic and amazing. And I'm like, if that's what we're going to see, I can't wait. It was very fantastical, very colorful, creatures, monsters. Oh, I can't wait. All right. Next one up is from Austin. It says, hey, a few quick thoughts about The Flash and then my question. The movie was a 2 out of 10 for me. I never liked Ezra. Yeah. I never liked Ezra Miller's Flash, and this movie didn't change that. It seemed like Miller was playing himself more than the character of Barry Allen, something that's been happening a lot in movies lately. The humor didn't land for me. The Bat tape measure. Keaton has always been decent enough Batman, but I was disappointed where his story went. If he cleaned up Gotham, then why did he look more depressed than ever? But enough about my opinion and on to the question. I recently read the article about Batman Caped Crusader saying that it was everything Bruce Timm wanted to do with Batman the Animated Series but wasn't allowed to. I've recently watched a YouTube video claiming the restrictions that the original animated series had caused the writers to be more thoughtful and creative, ultimately making the show better. So what do you think? What do you think? Were the restrictions a good thing, or will the new version with no limitations surpass the beloved animated series? Thanks, Austin, and I'm sorry The Flash didn't work for you. I will say this, just real quick about, I think the point is that Bruce Wayne cleaned up Gotham, and this was a Bruce Wayne who had nothing outside of that. It's kind of what Alfred was warning Bruce about in The Dark Knight Rises, of like, the only thing you're living for is Batman. And if that were gone, you've got nothing else happening. And I think that was the way I took it, is he cleaned up Gotham, he did his job, and now he has no purpose. He lost his purpose because he already did it. And that's why
I really feel like that too. So we're on the same page there.
And so I actually kind of liked that, because then when he got pulled out of retirement, and again, when he was patching himself up and he looks himself in the mirror and he's like, oh, I'm back. Like, he doesn't actually say it, but that's the look he gives. I love that moment. So, anyway, so the question about the restrictions on Batman, the animated series. Did you see this comment, Jamie?
I think I saw you guys talking about it briefly somewhere. I don't think I ever read an article or anything about it. But.
Yeah, so it was Bruce Timm basically said like, oh, it's everything I wanted to do with the animated series, but wasn't allowed to because of different restrictions. So it seems like he's being allowed to do whatever he wants. And how does that make you feel?
I feel like there's going to be some over-sexualization of females in it because, Bruce Timm.
Yeah.
But
he is one horny nerd, that Bruce Timm.
Yeah. And, I have a very high fondness for the fairer sex and all, but I don't think that's what I need in a Batman show. I don't want the thing to lean too mature. I think that I've been spouting off on this for years, There's certainly stuff for the younger age, Bat Wheels, and we have those kind of things. But
by the way, apparently Bat Wheels merchandise is finally out, so somebody's going shopping. Anyway, continue.
Rock on. I just, for me, and I can't speak for everybody because I know everybody has opinions in this department for certain. I don't feel like I need a super mature Batman animated series.
Yeah, I agree. His comments concerned me more than they excited me, just because we've seen what happens when Bruce Timm has no restrictions, The Killing Joke. And I hope I'm wrong, and I hope it's not that, and it's still a great show. But I'm just like, to Austin's point here, sometimes restrictions can be a good thing because it forces them to be more creative, and and I have no complaints about the animated series, and I certainly don't wish it was more mature. So maybe it'll be Much Ado About Nothing, and the show will just be a Batman show, and it'll be great, and I hope that's the case. But yeah, I was a little concerned when I heard this quote. All right. Guess who's back? The Objective Geek.
Oh, we got away with a pretty easy one the first time. This one's
I know. Maybe that's why he was like, oh, hold on, I'm coming back. He says, okay, I have an overcomplicated and layered but fun question, but it could be a whole episode.
You see, fun for him isn't always fun for us, so let me buckle down here.
This is true. I just saw The Flash, and I really liked it. Similar to you, not a love yet. But I love the new Bat Cycle and the Batwing. So the question is, how would you rank the theatrical live-action non-Batmobile Bat vehicles? So like the Batcopter 66, or the Batwing, or the Batwing Forever, or the Redbird, or the Batpod, or the Batboat. And he has a whole list of all these different vehicles. And so this, it does feel like, and it says bonus if you want, favorite action sequences of them. Sorry, not sorry for the long email. I'm going to just say right now, yes, this could be a whole episode. Favorite other Bat vehicles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to respectfully sidestep the question and say, Jamie, just give me 2 of your favorite non-Batmobile Bat vehicles. And then we can come back to this on a slow week when we need an episode idea.
Cool. I think it would be a mistake for me not to say the Batwing from '89. I think that's an amazing vehicle. I've always loved its look, its style, its usability, all that stuff. It's the complete package of aesthetic and practicality. The Batpod has to be in the conversation, but is that cheating? Because that's technically part of the Batmobile.
It's on here, so it's fine.
Okay.
I agree with you. Both of those were in consideration. So just so we're not repeating ourselves, I'm going to say, I will say first, I loved the Bat Cycle in The Flash. The one from the opening sequence. I loved it. Yeah. I feel like it had the right mix of real but fantastical, and seeing it in action and everything it could do. That one is up there. I love it. And then the other one, which is more random, but I do like it, is the Bat Ski Boat from Batman Returns. Mostly I just love how it looks. I don't know why Batman would own it, because I don't know how often it comes in handy, but it was a cool and well-designed vehicle. And thank God he had a reason to use it in that movie. So I'm going to give those 2 a shout out. The Bat Ski Boat from Batman Returns and the new Bat Cycle from The Flash.
And I pretty much love every vehicle from '66. I've been kind of, on nights when I don't want to sit down and focus on a drama or something like that, I'll put on an episode of '66. I think I'm probably 8 or 9 episodes into the first season. And every damn vehicle in that show is great. The boat, the copter, the Batmobile, the cycles, all the vehicles in that show are terrific. I love it.
Yeah, agreed. Of all those, I think I like their Batboat the best. I love that Batboat.
That's great. I used to have a little Hot Wheels thing from that back in the early '80s. Oh,
that's a really good one.
You remember the little Superman ship with the punchy arms that came out of the front of it?
You know that they're selling a new version right now.
What?
Yeah, you can go to Walmart right now and buy one.
Oh, dude, I'm on that.
Yeah, just FYI.
I always wondered why Superman needed it, but I thought it was so cool. I never argued with it.
I know. All right. Thank you for the episode idea, Chris. I love episode ideas. I do, because, sometimes I can't come up with one. Next message is from Andrew Antes. It says, hey, friends, I'm not sure if you guys have talked about it, but it dawned on me. Barry modifies the past with a can of tomatoes, and Keaton explains the big sloppy mess with tomatoes. On purpose? And no, I don't think the hot dog with ketchup is related. Keep up the awesome work. P.S. Andy, I'm so sorry for your loss, and I'm happy that you used this as a platform to share. It was a beautiful way to remember your dad. Andrew. Thank you, Andrew. That is so sweet. I appreciate that. And oh yeah, I think it's totally intentional that tomatoes and spaghetti are all interconnected for sure.
Fun fact, I had no idea that the two of those could even be connected until it was just brought to my attention at that moment.
Oh yeah, I mean, because like from the very beginning, or no, it was when he's on the phone with his dad, and his dad something like, "Oh, remember she used to make that pasta with the sauce," and like they set it up from the very beginning that like yes,
Yeah, I mean, it all in hindsight makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
through the whole film, it's just I never connected it in my brain until he just brought it up.
And wasn't he eating like and when he had that dinner with his parents, and he came back like when he was in the past? I think he was eating spaghetti then too.
Maybe.
I think so. I'll check. I'll check again this weekend, but I think so. So yes, I think it's there's a new shirt that came out like in a week or two ago, and it's like a big pile of spaghetti with the Flash logo, which I kind of love.
Random.
It is random, but I think it's fun.
You should buy that because clearly, judging by those box office numbers, nobody's going to understand the reference.
I know. I was going to say, I'll buy it when it's on clearance because judging by the box office. All right, next message is from Charlie. It says, hey, whoever's on this episode, I just got done with the latest and we want more Catherine. Catherine. I agree, Charlie. I mean, yeah, that's why I married her. The Flash, I really enjoyed it from start to finish. I can't pinpoint when, but for some time I've been going into all these comic book movies, Marvel included, without any sort of expectations. I stopped following the hype or listening to insider talk, and I've gone into most of them with very little. And maybe this helps me enjoy them more. I don't know. Post-movie, I never go out of the way to read what anyone says, and it's all just hot takes. That being said, as soon as your episode came up, I listened to it. I know full well from you guys and gal that it's going to be an honest conversation, and that's what I love about the show. Charlie. P.S. Jamie, sorry for your recent loss. My heart goes out to you. I assume that means me. Unless Jamie, you have a recent loss too.
No.
In which case, I apologize if I didn't ask.
I brought up the thing about my mom, but that was 23 years ago. So no.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you, Charlie. And I think that you're right. There is something about just going in without expectations and just enjoying the ride. And then just like Jamie said earlier, just kind of like not even engaging in the online, swirl and hot takes and craziness and all that stuff. And it just allows you to enjoy things more. And I'm glad that you did that because that's awesome. And, yeah, I respect that. So, and I'm glad that even amongst all that, you still chose to listen to the show. So thank you for that.
Conversations don't have to be constantly uncivilized. I'm just saying.
That's true. All right. Next message is from Rick. It says, thank you for the show. I look forward every week. I do want to express my condolences and thank you for knowing that your listeners will empathize and feel for you. But now for the worst segue in history on the subject of The Flash and Keaton's Batman. Why does everyone want to go back 34 years? He was the actor to turn the character of Batman from being a joke when I was 6 on TV, but I have no desire to go backwards. I'm more interested in moving forward and seeing what comes next. The last thing I want to see is an 80-year-old Batman. I want to see movement and progress, not regression. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I would not put Keaton in the top 4 people who have portrayed Batman. So let's go forward and not backwards. Rick Sampson. Thank you, Rick, and thank you for the kind words. And I'll tell you where I kind of come from it both ways. I would put Keaton in my top 4. I love him in the role. I think he was a great Batman. But like we said earlier, I mean, the reality is he's 70 years old. So I'm glad we got to revisit him one last time. And I think that's awesome. But yeah, like it was not built for the long term. And as you said, like I'm totally happy going forward. I feel like I've pretty much been on board with every new Batman and I'll do it again whenever we get a new one. And so, but Keaton will always have a special place in my heart because he was my first. And so I'll always love him. And I'm glad we got him once more, but I get it. Any thoughts, Jamie?
Keaton would be my number 3 off the top of my head.
I mean, I think it's kind of like what I do with the movies is like Keaton's my sentimental favorite, but I think Bale gave a more well-rounded performance, but I think that's more because of the material he was given versus Keaton. Like so
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
you
That's fair.
know, um and Affleck is up there too, like those are my top 3.
For the
Bale,
physical
Bale,
presence
Affleck, and
alone,
Keaton.
Affleck is up there for me because that I was one of those people that would go to the comic book shop every week and argue with people in front of and behind the counter that Michael Keaton is not built like Batman. He does not look like Batman. He's not big enough to be Batman. So yeah, I was one of them.
Yeah.
We were comic book shops were the Twitter of their day before Twitter. Except back then you actually had to say it to somebody's face, so it was a little different. But anyway.
All right. This is from Adrian Roses. It says, "Hey guys, it says, hey Andy, you, Jamie, Brendan, and the Squadcast guys have almost single-handedly kept me coming back for all the new DC films through all the ups and downs. I really like The Flash a lot more than I was expecting, and I'd love to see more of this crew. That being said, if December rolls around and that's the last we ever see of Ezra, Jason Gal, or anyone else, I don't know what I would have. I don't know what I would have it in me to continue watching these movies. I was invested in everyone, not just Argus and Task Force X. I understand and accept why some people had to be replaced, but it would hurt too much to have all the characters I love most thrown out. I never plan on quitting your show because I love you guys too much, but I don't know if I can say the same for DC films. Sorry if it went too long. With peace and love, Adrian." Thanks, Adrian. And again, I get it. Like we love all of these actors in their roles as well. We do. But I don't know. Again, I mean, I know I tend to be a glass half full guy more often than not. And I'm like, we got 10 years and God, by the time all is said and done, 16 movies in this universe. And I think that's a pretty respectable run. And so, although I will miss all of these actors, I will welcome new takes and new versions of these characters because I love the characters just as much as I love any of the actors.
Yeah, I don't think I can contribute much more than that. All I would say is I would say at least give the new universe a chance when it rolls around because you got a breathing period of a couple years.
Yeah, very true. All right, next message is from Tony Hull. It says, "Hey guys, first to Andy, I'm truly sorry about your dad. I want to echo Jamie and Brendan's sentiments that although we are not friends in the traditional sense, you and the show are such a positive influence on my life that my heart still goes out to you as it would any other friend. I know there are probably many other listeners that feel the same way. You said something towards the end of episode 400 that was exactly what I was thinking all weekend, but I couldn't quite express it regarding The Flash's disappointing box office and reception. I'm paraphrasing, but you said something about the DCEU brand is damaged goods, and that hits the nail right on the head. At this point, it doesn't matter how good the movies are. The general audience is either apathetic or avoiding anything associated with the DCEU. I 100% agree that Gunn needs to do a hard reset, regardless of how we personally feel about the cast. It's starting to parallel the aftermath of Batman and Robin, where the Batman brand was tarnished. It took 8 years to get a new movie, which leads to my question. Do you think there needs to be more time between Aquaman 2 and Superman Legacy? Although the writer's strike and potential actor strike could change things, right now it's an 18-month gap. Is that enough time for the stink to wear off for the general audience who may not even understand that it's a different DCU? Thanks again, Tony. Thank you, Tony, and thank you so much for the kind words about my dad. It's wonderful, and I really do appreciate it. But I'm glad you understood what I was saying about needing the reboot and the fact that the DC universe or the current version of the DC universe, I think it's over and it's time to start fresh. And again, at no fault of any one person, just that's just the way things went down. But the question is do you think we need a bigger gap between Aquaman 2 and Superman Legacy? Is 18 months enough, Jamie?
I absolutely think it is, and here's why. If they were kicking off the DC universe under Gunn with an Aquaman movie 18 months later, I might say, whoa, pump the brakes here. Let's think about taking a different approach. But in 2025, by the time that movie comes out, it will have been nearly 8 years since Superman appeared in a major role in a theatrically released film. So yeah, there's your gap.
You can't hear, but I'm nodding.
Okay.
Because that is very true. There is yeah, the last time Superman was on the big screen for more than 10 seconds was Justice League in 2017. So yeah, you're right. It'll be almost 8 years, which is, God, that's a longer gap than between Returns and Man of Steel. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Returns and Man of Steel was 7 years. So yeah, I think I completely agree with you. And I also think that when you see a trailer with a new Superman and a new Lois and a new aesthetic and a new look and a new cast, I think the audience is going to go, oh, new Superman, got it. And that's why I think that, unfortunately, you have to start fresh all around, because if it's this new Superman and then Jason Momoa shows up as Aquaman, that will muddy the waters.
I agree.
But
if Jason Momoa shows up as Lobo, different animal.
That's a different story. I will say, oh God, I lost my train of thought. I will say, that's what I was going to say, is I feel like a while back we were like, oh man, in 2024, the only DC movie we're getting is Joker 2. And that's kind of a bummer. It's like, there's going to be a gap, but I'm like, I'm grateful for that gap, because I think that gap only helps the relaunch of the DC universe. And heck, we waited 3 years between Man of Steel and BVS with nothing, and even longer way back in the day for other things. So we can survive 18 months. We'll be all right. All right. It's, what is this? Sorry, the email's being wonky. All right. This is from Marcio. It says, hey, Batmites. First of all, thanks for the review and a beautiful tribute, Andy. We appreciate you and we send you all the love. I wanted to acknowledge the landmark episode. I remember celebrating 200 episodes with the Joker's Parade and Prince's music, and time sure flies. Now about The Flash. Let's try something. Close your eyes for a second and imagine there were no trailers. Picture a world, or universe, if you will, where you didn't know or see anything about the film before sitting in the cinema. How much would your reaction have changed? A couple of plot points might have hit differently, like searching for Kal-El to find Supergirl instead of Superman, to seeing Keaton back as Batman and instead of Affleck, seeing young Barry get his powers, seeing the Batmobile again as an Easter egg, even though we still would have liked to see it in action. Expectation is the mother of disappointment, and I felt on my first watch, which I enjoyed, I couldn't help but wish for more. On my second watch, I enjoyed it much more, similar to what many of you guys said on the review. So do you think that trailers and marketing set expectations too high or give away too much? Should directors get to sign off on trailers, or maybe forbid third acts from being used in promos? Maybe I'm being overly sensitive. I apologize for the rant and the long email. Thanks for all your work. I appreciate you, Marcio, a Peruvian in the UK. Thank you, Marcio, and and again, thank you for the kind words. Jamie, what do you think? Expectation is the mother of disappointment. Do you think that?
I agree with that, but I think a lot of it has to do with hyping ourselves up more than they intend to hype us up. I mean, they have to have marketing. They have to get butts in seats. It's not just all about us. They have to get the people that, might just catch the trailer or a TV spot on a whim and be, oh my gosh, that looks really good. Maybe I should go see that. Instead of the people that no matter what, we're going to go see it. And then we're going to complain that they showed us too much in a trailer. It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Go back to my consistent gripe for the last 7 years or however long it's been. I really wanted Wonder Woman to be a surprise in BVS, and watching the movie, you can clearly see that was how they wanted to do it, but ultimately Wonder Woman was too big of a hook for them not to use it in the marketing campaign for it. And I don't feel like The Flash gave away too much in the trailers. I feel like there was plenty to be surprised about, as long as you didn't get spoiled by social media or whatever going in. If you stayed clean like me, there was a lot of stuff in there I had no idea was coming, and I truly appreciated the refreshing feeling of being surprised by something, because I always like to be surprised in a film. But they have to do trailers and that kind of stuff because they have to get butts in seats that maybe wouldn't even normally be there. Because again, all of us, everybody listening to this show, talking on this show, whatever, we're going to go see all these DC movies no matter what. But they need the other people to come and see the movies that maybe wouldn't normally go see it, or maybe wouldn't normally go see a superhero movie. Maybe they see a trailer for The Flash and think, well, that looks different than any other superhero movie, so maybe I'll go check that out. I don't know. I just feel like there's no way to win because, yeah, I feel like sometimes trailers do give away too much. But at the same time, if you don't get the people a little bit excited enough to where they want to go spend their, $11-12 to go see the movie, then it was all for nothing anyway, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. I agree that I think that maybe The Flash gave away a little too much in the trailers, maybe a little, but not as egregious as something like BVS, which gave away way too much,
Yeah.
which I think everybody kind of agrees to that. And we still love that movie. So it doesn't, in the long run, it doesn't matter. But yes, there is something to be said for that first watch when you've seen 3 trailers and you know a little too much. I do miss the days when one movie was coming out, we'd get one poster, one trailer. Like there was something pure about that where you could go in and you could be surprised by so much more. But I'm not naive enough to believe that's ever going to happen again. That's just not the world we live in. So it's the nature of the business. To your point, Jamie, they got to do what they got to do to get it in the conversation, to market it, to get people excited. And sometimes that works against it. And I respect all the folks out there who are like, oh, I'm not watching trailers for that movie. And that's awesome. And I respect the discipline. And if you don't have a DC podcast, you can do that. And I love it. But I'm just kind of realistic about like, this is the nature of it. I'm going to review trailers on the podcast. And again, in the long run, the trailers do not make up my mind in the long run, but it does have an effect as far as certain surprises or things the first time around. All right. Next one's from Stephen Marshall. Again, it says, I listened to your Flash review episode, and I've got to agree with Andy that the film showed huge respect to Superman. They showed that without Superman, that they couldn't save the world. However, sans a headless backshot on a TV screen and a CGI shot in the Chrono Bowl, we didn't get to see Henry Cavill. I feel the film would have been much stronger had he been in the opening action sequence showing how important he is. After all, you can't rely on everyone having known Man of Steel. Secondly, I really don't think they should have retained Abdi and DeLuca ending with... I really think they should have retained the Abdi and DeLuca ending with Cavill and Godot. Don't get me wrong, I laughed my ass off with Clooney, but a chance to say goodbye to these versions of the characters that we've watched for the last decade. Also, I agree about the Batmobile not being used. It was such a bummer, but in saying that, it was used in the scrapped Batgirl movie, so now I want to see that movie just to see the car in action again. And lastly, I agree about that we needed more cameos in the Chrono Bowls towards the end. Don't get me wrong, seeing Nick Cage's Superman battle a Thanagarian snare beast was a dream come true, but why didn't we get to see Grant Gustin's Flash or Bale's Batman? How about Godot as Wonder Woman, and so on? I just felt like it was a missed opportunity. Anyway, it sounds like I hated the movie, but I didn't. I dug it. It's about a 7.5 or 8 out of 10. It's just frustrating to know that more could have been done that would have made this go from a good to great movie. Take care. Kind regards, Steven. Thanks, Steven, and I'm glad you mostly enjoyed it. You heard the review episode, so, I agree with some of your points for sure, as far as like, I think they could have gone a little crazier with the cameos in the end, and yes, they definitely should have used the Batmobile. I have mixed feelings about the alleged ending with Cavill and Godot, because yes, I'd love to see them again, but if the whole point, it sounds like the whole point of that was to just set them up for the future, and if that is not going to happen, then it's just one other dangling thread that you're not going to pay off. And so if that's truly what it was, I understand why they wouldn't do that, because then you're just teasing the fans even more. So yeah, Jamie, thoughts?
I gave most of my thoughts on it when I did the review episode, but I was fine with the cameos because I didn't know any of them were coming, so I don't feel like I was shortchanged. So I wonder if you guys have a different perspective on that, because you obviously knew some of that was coming.
We knew it was all coming because it was all in the only one that wasn't in the early version was Clooney.
Okay.
But yeah, and then as far as Henry Cavill, I do wish that he had a longer cameo in there somewhere. But it sounds like the one he shot was pretty recent, and it was during the Black Adam moment that lasted a weekend. And again, it sounds like it was only to set up something else that's not going to happen. So it would have been nice to. I agree, it would have been nice to see him more. But the fact that they did show him in the Chrono Bowl means that like they weren't hiding him, which to me was good.
I feel like they should have taken my idea, and the opening sequence should have been the whole Justice League instead of just Flash and Batman and a brief cameo by Wonder Woman.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. All right. Next message is from Sonia Gregory. It says, hey, when you talked about the Batman cartoon, you said that they couldn't use some characters because of the live action movies. So how come they were allowed to use the Joker even, I think that 5 seasons would have been around when The Dark Knight came out. Sincerely, Sonia. Yeah, I can answer that just because when the Batman started, it was 2004. And at that point, the only movie they even had a script for was Batman Begins. And we talked about this as Batman Begins featured Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul, obviously, but an earlier draft also featured Harvey Dent. And so those were the 3 characters they weren't allowed to use because they knew that movie was coming. But it was The Dark Knight at that point was 4 years away. And so they were allowed to use the Joker. And then by the time The Dark Knight was coming out, they'd already used the Joker in many, many episodes. So there was no point in pulling him back. It already, the Joker was already out of the box, so it didn't matter. So it was just the timing of the only things they restricted were things that were going to be in Batman Begins. All right, next message is from Imad Alaguz. It says, hey guys, a couple Flash questions and thoughts from my overthinking brain. Oh, okay, let me get ready. Keaton in The Flash could not have been the same Keaton as in Batman 89 because Barry did not hop universes in the movie. He just altered the timeline in his own universe. Assuming there's a universe out there for Batman 89, Keaton in The Flash simply resembles the Batman from the 89 universe. Unless Batman 89 and Batman Returns are events that occurred in this new alternate timeline that Barry created in the universe. And I prefer that idea. So what are your thoughts? Number 2, Barry was thrown into the past by the Dark Flash, which was created after Barry visited the past and interacted with his younger self. So something seems off. How is it possible for the Dark Flash to exist at that point when Barry hadn't met his younger self yet? I hope I managed to explain it well. I'm sorry for your loss, Andy, and I feel your pain. Losing my own father a few years ago was one of the toughest moments in my life. Best regards, Imad. Imad, thank you. Thank you so much. And again, thank you for the kind words about my dad. All right. So first question. And it's funny, I've seen fans go back and forth about this of like, well, is this truly the Batman from the Burton films? Or is it a different one that resembles the ones from the Burton films? What's your take, Jamie?
I don't even know how to approach it.
Does this go back to when we were talking about Flashpoint and we were like the deeper you dig into time travel, the more your brain like just starts to unravel and explode?
Yes. I feel like I'm looking at a bowl of spaghetti right now. So
I feel like you can headcanon it either way. I think you're fine. But I do think it is intended to be the same Batman.
I don't feel like there's anything clearly present that I caught in my one viewing 2 weeks ago that would contradict that.
Yeah.
So I would very much lean towards saying it is the same one, only because I don't really have any indication otherwise,
Yeah. I think that was the intent, because otherwise, why would he have the same car? Why would he have the same Wayne Manor?
And
why would he have
went through painstaking lengths to recreate a lot of those rooms in Wayne Manor, just as they were in the Burton film. So, I mean, to me, that really even leans more toward it.
For sure. But I've also heard fans who were like, well, I don't like this as an ending for that Batman. And if that's how you feel, then you can absolutely say, oh, this is an alternate reality version who's very close to the Burton Batman, but he's not the Burton Batman. And I think it works either way. But yes, I think the intent was it's the same one. And then the question about Barry being thrown into the past by the Dark Flash before he created the Dark Flash. And that definitely goes back to a time travel conundrum that you can spend the next 10 years of your life trying to unravel, and that's a time loop. Because a time loop feeds into itself, and it can only happen if it's a loop, because something that happens in the future causes what happens in the past. And this is very normal in a lot of time travel stories. And you just have to go, it's a time loop. That means Barry was always going to do this, which means Barry was always going to meet his younger self, which means Barry was always going to create the Dark Flash and create the loop. I remember I mentioned it on the show in the past. Armageddon 2001. You remember Armageddon 2001?
Oh yeah.
And in that story, Hank Hall, becomes Monarch, who is like
spoilers.
It's been how many years? 30 years?
35-ish.
Yeah. But the way he gets the Monarch suit is from his future self. And so me and Dillip, when that came out, we tore our hair out going, but where did it come from originally? If he only got it from himself, it had to have come from somewhere originally. There had to have been a first time. And we went round in circles and circles and circles. And the answer is it's a time loop, and you just got to go with it. So that's what I'm going to say. It's a time travel rule. There are time loops in a lot of fiction, and it just means that that loop was always going to happen.
Yeah, let's go with that answer.
Okay. Anyway, next one. It's Mark Jurasevic again. It says, I loved your review of The Flash, and I love the film. But I have a few questions and observations, having only seen the film once. I didn't realize that at the end of the movie, the primary Barry placed the tomato cans higher so his father's face could be seen on the video footage as he reached for the can, and therefore exonerate him for the crime. It was a nice touch, even though this could result in a less extreme outcome compared to saving his mom. Wouldn't that change in the past still have devastating effects regardless of how small the event? It's been a while since I've seen Man of Steel, but in that film, from memory, there were only 3 main Kryptonian antagonists. But while I was watching The Flash, it appeared that there was a small army of Kryptonians. I may have imagined this, but is this the case? Barry's interference with the timeline seems to have affected events beyond Earth and therefore the universe itself. It altered what happens with the Kryptonians, such as baby Kal-El's pod being intercepted by Zod, and therefore Supergirl being the main hero and Superman not coming into existence. On a final note, Andy, my sincerest condolences about the loss of your father. I visited my mom and dad the other day, and as I was leaving, I thought about what you said, and I gave them both a second hug. Never underestimate your ability to touch people, even those you've never met. Take care, Mark. Mark, thank you. I love that. I'm so glad you did that, and do it every time. Absolutely. All right, to address these questions. So, the tomato cans. I have seen a bit of back and forth about the tomato cans at the end in the grocery store. Jamie, what's your take?
Well, again, I didn't take the perspective of him looking up because Barry placed the tomato can on a higher shelf is why that happened until he just brought it up. So clearly I need to see this movie again because I didn't gather enough detail watching it the first time. You know, that happens. You know, you have to watch movies multiple times to get all the threads and subtleties and everything else with it. And I really wish I could have seen it a second time before the review episode, but my slave driver told me I had to do it that night, and I couldn't make it.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't have a lot of flexibility that week.
I get it.
It is, you know, it is an interesting question and an interesting debate because he just learned how he could mess with the timeline. But it seemed like it was an even smaller change than saving someone's life, than saving his mother's life. And so it was a chance he was willing to take. And then he learned again at the end that, you know, now Bruce is different. So he thought he got away with it, but he did not.
I was going to say, it's not like this couldn't have set up a sequel had they had everything in a row for that to happen.
Yeah.
And they could have said, well, if you'd have put this tomato can on the second shelf instead of the third, this wouldn't have happened. So now we have to go do all of this over again.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, it seemed like because it was an even smaller thing, it was a risk he was willing to take, and then he untangled the spaghetti once, and he could untangle it again if he needed to. And then Man of Steel, this one I have the answer. Zod always had a whole crew with him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that was always the case. I mean, yes, there were like 3 big ones that were the most focused on in Man of Steel, but no, he always had like at least like a dozen folks in that ship with him.
Yep. All kinds of. Richard Citrone was one of them too, by the way.
Yes, he was. Yeah. And then the last thing about Barry interfering with the timeline doesn't just affect Earth. I mean, yeah, because a timeline is a timeline, and I think it's a universe, right? So yeah, it would affect everything. Not really a question. I guess I'm just agreeing with you. Yes, it affects things outside of just Earth. All right, next question is from Dave Chambers. It says, first and foremost, I am sorry for the loss of your father, Andy. Losing a parent is difficult. I lost my mom last July, and so as soon as I heard about his passing via Facebook, you've been in my thoughts and prayers. Much love, brother. The Flash. I just got out of the movie theater. I wasn't a fan of the film. It wasn't the grand epic I'd imagined, but maybe that's on me. And you mentioned that in the spoiler-free podcast. But the humor with the Flash didn't land for me. But every Batman scene and Supergirl moment was spectacular. Keaton stole the show, and then the final reveal of Clooney, it made this Batman and Robin fan very happy. I'm about to press play on episode 400, so happy 400 to Andy, Jamie, and Brendan. Dave Chambers. Thank you, Dave, and I'm sorry about the passing of your mom last July. That's it's horrible, and I hope you're doing okay. And thank you so much for your nice thoughts. And yeah, we get into all of that in the review episode. So by now you've probably heard it. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you understood all our points. And I'm sorry you didn't love the film, but I'm glad you liked Batman and Supergirl. I'm glad that stuff worked for you. And 400 down. Okay, next question. Oh, I think we already kind of covered it, but I'll read it real quick. It says, Andy, Brendan, Jamie, and possible wives. I've heard it said that despite the obvious connections, we don't necessarily need to assume that the Keaton Batman in The Flash is the exact same one from the Burton films. Do you agree, or are people trying to convince themselves so we don't have to think of that world being destroyed? Also, on a lighter note, where would you rank the marketing and merchandising of the Keaton Batmobile, only for it not to be put into action among cinema's cruelest teases? Thanks. All the best, Will Gibson. Thanks, Will. And we just covered that about the Keaton Batman. Again, I think it works either way, depending on how you want it to. But I think it's supposed to be the same one. As far as the Batmobile, I don't remember, Jamie. Were you as bugged by that as me and Brendan?
1 star, would not recommend.
Okay. And I will say that like it's not just that they made a toy. It's like they literally like teased it in the trailer. They put it in a poster. Like it's not just because they built a toy. I mean, they teased the return of the best Batmobile ever on film. And so yes, I think it's very high on cruelest teases.
Yeah.
And now that I think it was Steven who said that they did use it in Batgirl, makes me real sad.
Yeah, we shouldn't bring up that movie ever again because it makes me angry and sad and emotional.
I know. So, yep, I agree. It was cruel. But you know what you have if you want to get some of the classic Burton Batmobile action? You got
Batman 89?
Well, yes.
Batman
but
Returns?
Yes. Keep going. You're almost there. You got 6 on-star commercials.
Oh.
6 on-star commercials.
Yeah. No, I'm good.
You're missing out. All right, next message is from Adam Padron. It says, hey guys, so The Flash, I enjoyed the film for the most part, but I have mixed feelings about the ending. Apparently the ending was supposed to be Keaton and Supergirl making another appearance. So hypothetically, if that were the ending, how would that have been explained? Were there other reshoots? And do you think that Keaton and Supergirl didn't die in the earlier version? Sorry if I'm the 100th person to ask this. I hope this makes the Flash Questions podcast. Thanks for podcasting, Adam. Thanks, Adam. It made it. Congrats. And so, yes, I am fully confident, and we did address this in the review episode, is I'm fully confident that, yes, in the ending, Keaton and Supergirl were present for the ending. And then when the decision was made of like, you know what, we're going to do a different Batman for Brave and the Bold, and we don't know what we're doing with Supergirl yet, so let's just not do that. So I think they always died in that universe. I think that universe was always doomed because I think that was the way the story was written. But I do think that the change of the cans was what would have brought them into this universe.
Yeah. We'll go with
Nothing
that.
else? Good.
Yeah, I don't have anything to contribute there.
Okay.
My head hurts so bad from all this time travel talk. It's unbelievable.
I know. All right, next one is from Paul Shanley. It says, hey guys, I love The Flash. The Keaton stuff was a great reminder of while he'll always be my Batman, and the scene of Barry and his mom was one that resonated with me and hit me emotionally. It's a shame it isn't doing better. I'm not blind, it's not perfect, and it certainly, I think, is a victim of both bad press around Ezra Miller and maybe Warner's being a little overconfident with 10,000 pre-screenings. Paul, well said. I think there may be a larger issue at play here with the bias against DC. Plenty of Marvel stuff is mediocre since Endgame, and they seem to get a pass. I think the DCEU is a brand that some people have decided they love to hate, and they don't think that there's anything that The Flash was going to do to win them over. And then some are Snyder fans that are only interested in what he was planning, and were hoping for this to fail. Some are people that have been turned off since Man of Steel, and some are just websites that realize they get more traffic trashing a DC film. Not sure how you turn this ship around, but I think a hard reset is the way to go. Thoughts? Thank you for all you do, Paul. Paul.
Man, let me tell you something. This Paul cat has obviously been paying attention for the last 10 years. That's all.
From your lips to God's ears, Paul. I think all of that is very valid. And that's kind of what I was getting at earlier, is it's no one thing that led to the failure of this film. It's all the things. It's the people who hated the Snyderverse. It's the people who loved the Snyderverse. It's the people who hate Ezra Miller because of the bad press. It's because of 10 years of drama and false starts and changes and course corrections. It's all of that. And I think you said it very well here. And I will say, I do think that the Ezra Miller factor was a bigger factor than I think WB hoped, and even I thought. Because Ezra Miller is not a huge star. So I just didn't know how much of that drama was kind of confined to the nerd conversation and how much had made its way out into the mainstream. And I think more of it did make its way out there than I think I realized. Because even when I was in town, when I was in Illinois and we recorded that review episode, I was talking to my sister and my brother-in-law about The Flash, and my brother-in-law is nerdy, and Sarah, my sister, is like, kinda, like, she doesn't follow this stuff the way we do, but like,
she had to have gotten some of it by osmosis just from having lived under the same roof as you.
Yeah, so she's like aware, but not like, she doesn't listen to podcasts or read websites, but I was like, oh yeah, I love the movie, and then I said something about like, yeah, but it's not doing well. And my sister said, good. And I was like, good? She's like, yeah, F Ezra Miller. So I know it's just my sister. It's one person. But I thought it was telling. I was like, okay, like, interesting. So anyway, the point is, yeah, it's all these things. And I do think the answer is what we said earlier, is I think you just need a clean slate. You need a pause. You need a break. You need a clean slate. Some people you'll never win back, but I do think that you absolutely can win a bunch of them back, and the DC movies can be very successful. One thing I will say, and I kind of hate to say it, but I'll say it, is when David Zaslav took over WB Discovery or whatever it was, Warner Brothers Discovery, one of the first things he said was something, again, I'm paraphrasing, about like, there's no reason that Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman shouldn't be three of the biggest franchises in the world. And I 100% agree with that. And I hope that that is what will happen with the reboot, because yes, those three characters plus the DC universe as a whole has so much potential, and there's so much amazing stuff there that it is such a shame to see how many people, treat DC like a joke. And I think that we would all love to see it turned around.
Well, why don't you go ahead and read my email now that says, do you think there is any potential at all for them to reconsider Muschietti helming Brave and the Bold, given the backlash against The Flash and the box office failure that it's having?
That is an excellent question, but no, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't. I feel like, I mean, all things are possible, right? But I don't think so. I think the movie that Muschietti delivered is pretty damn impressive, considering how many false starts, non-starts, rewrites, considering all the trouble they had making this movie. The fact that he made it and it's good. Well, we say it's at least good. And for all of that, I don't hear much complaining about the Batman stuff,
Okay.
you know?
Well, that's fair, and I see that perspective, and I mostly agree that the movie is good. But here's the thing. I think back on the other Andy Muschietti movies I've seen, and that's what I think about all of them. I don't think any of them are great.
All right.
And that's no disrespect. The guy clearly has skills and he can do things. It's just, I talk about this all the time. Sometimes a director just doesn't necessarily speak in a language that resonates with me.
Yeah.
Like, I know people would want to stab me in the eyes for saying this, but like I've said it numerous times on numerous podcasts, I don't like any Stanley Kubrick movie I've ever seen. None of them. I like parts of them, but as a whole, I don't like any of them. And I'm wondering if Muschietti's just going to wind up being one of those directors where I'm not going to be overwhelmed or super impressed by anything that I see from him. And that kind of makes me nervous about The Brave and the Bold, because obviously I want to love a freaking Batman movie. So I don't know. That's why I wanted to ask the question.
It certainly crossed my mind because of how the movie, especially how the movie is done, but I don't think how the movie is done can in any way be pinned on him. But people certainly have complaints about the movie, but again, I feel like James Gunn so wholeheartedly threw his weight behind the movie and behind Muschietti. I don't know. I think it's a safe bet he's still going to make The Brave and the Bold.
Okay.
And again, for me, some of my favorite live action Batman stuff is in The Flash. So I'm not mad about it at all.
And that's fine. And I agree. I think some of the sequences involving, I think a lot of the sequences in the film, not even the ones that are, absolutely Batman centric, are good. It's just, as a whole, looking back on the movie, I still pretty much feel the same way, even having contemplated it for 2 weeks, that I like the movie, but I don't love it.
Okay.
And I think back on It Chapter 1 and 2. I like both of those, but I didn't love either one of them.
Okay. I hope The Brave and the Bold is the one that gets you to love.
Well, let's hope. Yes.
All right. Guess what, Jamie? We're on the last email.
Oh, good. I'm glad I got mine in there then.
All right. The last one here is from Mark Bickford. It says, hey, Andy, Brendan, Catherine, and Professor Grumpy Pants.
Oh, okay.
That's your superhero name. Sure.
Why not?
Just like Captain Sparkle Fingers, you're Professor Grumpy Pants. It says, regarding The Flash, I've seen it twice now, both in IMAX, and I really enjoyed it. I think that cinema score is absolute BS. All the actors were great, the story was excellent, and I had my glasses on for at least one of the showings, so I can truthfully say I don't know what people are complaining about with the CGI. I think we could have done without some of the lasso of truth gags, but all in all, it was a really good movie. I do wonder, when you started this podcast, did you have celebrate an anniversary episode by covering a new movie with Michael Keaton as Batman anywhere near your bingo card? I brought 3 teenagers to see it with me this past Monday, 2 in college, 1 in high school. None of them were even aware of the Ezra Miller stuff, and they also said that they liked him better playing this kind of character than they do Tom Holland. Finally, I'm going to go on a limb regarding the Ezra stuff. Maybe I prefer to consume my entertainment in a moral vacuum, or maybe I'm just old, but it seems to me like that Ezra is a no-good, horrible, evil piece of crap has gotten way out of hand. What do we know that he's done? He possibly punched some people on the street. Not cool, but as we've been saying, he's had mental health issues. Nobody went to the hospital. And besides, what's Sean Penn doing lately? To go from this to calling him a abuser of women is a giant leap. Broke into a friend's house and drank their booze. I believe this is the one that was set for trial this summer. It's stupid crap, but it's probably only even being prosecuted because it happened in the middle of nowhere, Vermont, and there isn't any serious crime to keep them busy. I live in Maine. I get it. It's similar here. He's going to get a fine or maybe a suspended sentence and pay restitution. Big effing deal. As for the other stuff he's been accused of, like running a cult or seducing a minor or these things, I find it fishy that we heard about the girl's parents getting a temporary restraining order, and then the sheriff later said he didn't see anything illegal happening at Ezra's place. If Ezra Miller was really this monster, if these people really thought he was endangering a child, why wouldn't we have heard anything about it? Why haven't they been banging the drum about him? I'm sure that if anyone did anything horrible to your kid, regardless of age, you wouldn't let it go. And if they had to go after WBD for restitution or treatment money or something, any lawyer would have definitely made lots of noise to drive pressure for a bigger settlement. The whole thing was such a drive-by with no follow-up, it strikes me as strange. So sorry for the long email. I'll forward your thoughts on anything I mentioned. I look forward to your thoughts on anything I mentioned. Have a great week. Geez, what a way to end this, Mark. What a way to end it. I like the first half of this
feels
email.
very appropriate to me somehow.
Oh my God. The first half of the email is great. I'm glad you loved the movie. And I agree. Like, who'd have guessed that episode 400 would be about a new movie starring Michael Keaton as Batman? All good stuff. As for the Ezra
stuff, that clear back on episode 4. Go back and listen.
Oh, good. Well, you must be psychic. Anyway, anything before I say my piece? Anything you wanna address about this, Jamie?
I feel like we've addressed this as it was going on. None of us that I can recall, as silly as it seemed to be with Ezra, and as much as the news seemed to pile up on them, nothing that ever came to light in anything that I saw, or I don't think anything you or Brendan saw, was anything that we thought was something that he couldn't come back from relatively easily. Like, he never reached a point of no return. We all clearly thought he needed help, and I think a lot of this might have been some kind of a cry for help, as strange as that may sound. But I kind of agree with what he's saying in that I don't feel like Ezra ever did anything beyond silliness. I mean, I know some of it was maybe crossing a threshold at some point, but like I don't feel like they ever did anything that was just too much and unforgivable and, canceled them and all this other stuff. I just don't feel like we ever reached that point. Yeah.
I agree. I feel like so much of this is like drunken troublemaking, like it's not in here, but like he threw a chair at a bar, right?
Bobby Knight threw a chair at a basketball game.
He like breaking into someone's house and drinking their booze. Like
Robert Downey Jr.
I'm not saying any of this stuff is good, but it's like, it's all like, it's kind of like drunken BS. And then the more serious accusations, like to Mark's point, there was absolutely no backup. There was no follow through. There was no evidence. And like, he was never actually charged with any of it. It's not, so there is enough room for doubt or benefit of the doubt in any of that stuff, that it's really hard to make those calls unless you want to. And I think that's a big part of it, is I think that there were a lot of people who just kind of enjoyed the drama, and because they were rooting against this movie or whatever, it was a great way for them to go after the movie. Again, I don't condone getting drunk and getting in fights or throwing chairs or breaking into someone's house and taking their booze. I don't condone any of that. I've never personally done any of that, but it's all like, it's not good, but they've got some problems and they're doing it. But to your point, I never felt like there was nothing so egregious that like had any real evidence behind that, like, yes, that felt super credible, I guess. So anyway, like we've always said, I hope they got the help they need. I hope they're doing better. I hope their mental health is better. And all that aside, they're great in the movie. And for everybody who do not want them to continue as the Flash, I think you're going to get your wish because the movie bombed. So maybe it doesn't even matter anymore. All right.
We
Well,
went out on a down note there, didn't we?
I know. I was like, come on, Mark, come on. It started good. It started all positive about liking the movie, and then we went down that rabbit hole. But it's all good. It's fine. But I think there's a point there, and the point is that if you have all this noise and all this rumor, who even cares what the truth is anymore?
Yeah.
Because no one bothered to dig in to find out what actually happened and what and what was all just drama. So
People love to react and not research. That's all I can say to it.
yeah. So all right, we're closing the mailbox. What a journey. What a journey. And it's cleaned out. So for now, it won't last, but it's cleaned out for now. And thank you to everybody who wrote in. We love hearing from you guys. We love hearing your input, your thoughts, your ideas, your observations, your questions. Even if the questions throw us for a loop, we love it. So thank you to everybody who took the time to write, especially everybody who shared, again, the kind thoughts about my father. That really does mean a lot to me, and I hope you know how much I appreciate it. So thank you to our big old Bat family out there. If you're listening, for everybody who wrote in, you guys are awesome. And even those of you who don't write in, who just quietly and respectfully listen, thank you as well. So great to hear from all of you. If you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, take your time, because like I said, taking the month off. But take your time. If you've got something, you can send that to Holy BatCast at rf4rm.com. But reminder, not going to get around to it until August. I'm just sitting out July. So that's where we're going to wrap this up. Enjoy your break, everybody. I'm going to do my best to enjoy mine. And Jamie, enjoy your break too. I'm not going to be your slave driver for July. So you can't use me as an excuse.
No, I'll revert back to my wife in that department now.
Okay, good. Anywhere we can find you, or are you just going to enjoy the silence?
I'm on Letterboxd under my name, Jamie Drewley.
Good.
Not too much overwhelming. I'm starting to kind of bleed back into Real Fans a little bit, but mostly that's just to talk about movies that don't involve Batman or Disney characters or stuff like that. I watched Over the Top for the first time in like 35 years last week because you and Hunter made me do it.
Oh yeah,
how'd that was educational.
I bought that in the digital discount bin a couple years ago and rewatched it. I love that.
That's the only reason I did it, is because Hunter mentioned something about it. I'm like, yeah, it's on sale for $5. He's like randomly, you and he and Preston all watched it in a matter of like 48 hours or something, just by coincidence or something like that. But I was like, all right, so I'll buy it, but you guys owe me $5 if it sucks. And it was fine. So go ahead and keep your $2.30 or whatever it would be.
Good.
I spent $5 on worse this year, so
yeah, awesome. Well, I'm glad you kind of enjoyed it, or at least it's a hell of a fun throwback.
it's certainly of its time. There's no question about that.
Robert Loggia for the win.
Oh my God, that dude! How amazing is he?
He's the best. All right, guys. And again, if you didn't listen to, or if you skipped over the beginning, again, I will be taking July off. So again, thank you for your patience and your understanding. We'll see you in August. So enjoy your month and listen to all your favorite shows. I already told you where to find me, and I already told you where to find the show, but thank you as always for joining us on Holy BatCast. Make sure you do follow or subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. And another thing that you can do to support us is if you enjoy the show, please just rate and review it wherever you get your podcast. That would also be really helpful. Visit holybatcast.com and find Holy BatCast all over social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. If you got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, that email address, again, is holybatcast@rf4rm.com. Our theme music was created by the talented Gaurav Venkateswar. You can find his work at gvtunes.com. And don't forget to check out our sponsors over at Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com and use that promo code BATSCAPED for 20% off and free shipping. That'll do it for this episode. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. And again, thank you to all of you. Be honest, be courageous, be kind, be like Batman. Love you guys.
Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.
So now we're going to go hit the gym and get our 80s movie montage going and get ready to come back and do all this over again for Blue Beetle, because you'll be back in time just
Oh my God, you're right. So Jamie, meet me halfway across the sky.
I'm going to get a Stan Bush soundtrack or playlist just for the next 30 days and just pound it, man. Just pound it. Because I got
You could
the
do
touch.
worse. Yep.
Yeah.